Hi there, and good morning, everyone. Um, First and foremost, thank you to everybody for joining the call with us this morning. Um, as you very well know, the subject of the webinar today is how to build a foundation of secure productivity with Microsoft 365 Copilot. But really, the intention is that we provide you today with some practical and relevant understanding around what is Microsoft 365 Copilot. What are the types of challenges faced by organizations as they adopt an AI strategy? And then how Microsoft 365 Copilot can help to address some of these challenges. If we take a look at the agenda for the session, so as you'll see on the screen, the first one is around what are the transformation drivers for Microsoft 365 Copilot, and the overview around the application. Then we'll go into the security and compliance challenges that organizations face. And then we'll take you through a bit of a demonstration of Copilot as well. And then we'll close the session today with how HAYNE.cloud can actually help organizations such as yours get ready with Microsoft Copilot. In terms of the speakers today, you've got myself, Ian Dalgarno. I'm the sales director here at HAYNE. My first foray into the Microsoft world was about 23 years ago, helping organizations with their license optimization strategies. But back in those days, it was receiving a CD in the post, as well as a very lengthy alphanumeric code as well. As you'll see today, things have gone a long way since then. In terms of my career, in that 23 years, I've spent about 10 years in the Microsoft ecosystem, working with Microsoft and obviously the partner network as well. Toby, over to you.
Hello, my name's Toby, and thanks, Ian, for the introduction. I am the Modern Working Copilot Solutions Lead at Infinigate Cloud. I am one of HAYNE's partners, so we work really closely just to ensure any of the end customers will, their mind's at ease when they're trying to deploy a new technology. And I'm basically a product expert on Modern Working, Copilot. I've been in the Microsoft ecosystem, since the beginning of my career, which, well, I'm not going to disclose my age, but 7-8 years. I know the ecosystem very well, and I actually did experience the box set era, when I'm at school. Over to you, Joy.
Thanks, Toby. Thanks, Ian. My name is Joy Usifo. I'm a partner solution sales manager at Microsoft, aligned to modern work security as well as Copilot. So my team is aligned to Infinigate Cloud as well as HAYNE to really support you in your journey around AI and even modern workplace and security. What I would typically do is we're aligned to customers and just kind of supporting them around all things that have to do with this particular solution area and just really covering anything that would help accelerate conversations around this space. Pleased to meet you all, and hope we have a nice interactive session. And over to you, Toby.
Yeah. So as Ian has mentioned, I'll be taking the first section, which are some AI transformation drivers and an overview of M365 Copilot. But before I start, can we just take a moment and think about what security and productivity means to you? Security has, it's an area that has gradually gained awareness. And you may think that security is maybe you're not sharing or saving documents on a USB drive or not clicking on suspicious emails and report it, right? And as for productivity, with the rise of remote work during the pandemic, more and more office workers leverage different tools like Teams to, stay productive, and even when they're not collaborating face to face. But as we combine security and productivity together, what does it mean to you? And now we introduce the era of Gen AI, where it's designed to help boost your productivity, acting like an assistant, and ultimately saving time so you can focus on other things. Sounds really good, and Copilot, don't get me wrong, is a really, really powerful tool. But as we consider deploying Gen AI, one of the main concerns from end customers and stakeholders is the security side of things. And as your managed IT partner, we also wanted to put your mind at ease by explaining how we can tackle the challenges and concerns that you have and ensure a smooth deployment of this powerful new technology. So I would say the golden question of today's webinar is, how do we push our productivity even further with the help of Gen AI tools, but remain secure at the same time? And how do we ensure we have full control of our data? So in the coming slides, I'm just going to talk about what Copilot is and some AI transformation drivers that we are seeing on the market. Let's start with some statistics. As you can see, business leaders understand the potential of AI because 79% of them say they believe AI adoption is critical for the organization to remain competitive. And already we've got 80% of SMB users, office workers bringing their own AI tools to work. However, they're reluctant on using AI on their most important tasks. And how I see it is because they're just bringing their tools to work. They just don't want to admit that they are using some sort of third-party tools to help make their job easier, because office worker may think, oh, AI might replace me, and even SMB leaders, even though they believe that AI is the go-getter for the next few years, they still have some hesitations towards deploying it. And it really happens when you're trying to deploy a new technology, right? So again, in this webinar, we are going to focus on the security side of things, because we, from what we've observed, this is the point, or this is the biggest challenge or concerns that businesses have when they're trying to deploy AI into their organization. Okay. So let's take a step back and allow me to explain what Copilot is in simple language. So Copilot is your everyday AI companion. When I say companion, it's here to help you make your job, do a better job. It helps you save time, and it's here to ride along. You're still the pilot. You still have full control of everything. Your data, what you want them to do. In Copilot, it's just here to ride along and operates under natural language. So natural language is how human beings speak and understand each other, regardless of the language of Japanese, Spanish, Portuguese, and things like that. So as you provide an instruction, which we call a prompt, to Gen AI tools, it will go through a large language model, which is like a big brain computer, where it understands what you say as a human being, does its job as a big brain computer, and it will generate a response that human beings understand. So that's how large language models work. And a more relatable example of that will be ChatGPT. You give them a prompt, does a job, and then generates a response that you would understand. And Copilot also operates under something called Microsoft Graph, which is basically a connector that bridges all the M365 applications together. So it helps all the applications speak to each other. So you may have seen it online already. There's Copilot for Excel, there's Copilot for Word, Copilot for PowerPoint, and how they work with each other, leveraging data from your SharePoint tenant, which is your own database, is thanks to Microsoft Graph. Okay, so these are the three pillars on what Microsoft 365 Copilot is. And the next slide, I will be going a little bit deeper as to explaining what the core features and probably demystify some sort of general misconceptions on the market. Okay, so first up, M365 Copilot is grounded in your business data. So it has real-time access to both your content and context, thanks to Microsoft Graph. So when you're in, most people may have already used ChatGPT or Gemini or Anthropic. You will know that, you can actually refer from some sort of source that you feed into them. Microsoft Copilot can do just like that, but they're using whatever data that you have within your tenant. And that takes us to another point, which is the security, compliance, and privacy side of things, which I believe is one of the major concerns that businesses face. So if we think of it this way, Copilot inherits your own security, compliance, and privacy settings within your own tenant. So if I speak to one of the end customers, they say, I'm actually quite worried about the security side of things, then I would say, well, since it inherits your own security settings, then if you're concerned about that, maybe you should reconsider whether, have an expert look into a tenant and see whether you're on a good state to deploy Copilot. Okay, and Microsoft is an entire ecosystem, right? They have thought it through. They want to ensure that there are only certain licenses that are entitled to have Copilot as an add-on, and that's how Microsoft wants to ensure that each of the licenses has their own little, security features that comes with it that makes you, a good candidate to deploy Copilot. So I hope that really ease out, put your mind at ease, because, HAYNE is always here to, look into your tenant and see whether you're in a good state to deploy Copilot. So if you're thinking about it and you have any hesitations, please speak to HAYNE, and you'll be in very good hands. Okay. And next up is your data. Data is also a very sensitive area when you're trying to deploy a new technology within your organization, especially ones that will actually look into your data. But just to assure you, your data will never leave its secure partition, and it's never used for training purposes. Here's the thing about any other, third-party Gen AI tools, right? You never know where the data goes when you feed the data into them. And take ChatGPT for an example. Once you feed data into ChatGPT, sensitive organization data, or even, I don't know, your date of birth or something, it will use the data that's being fed into to train its own foundation AI model. Meaning, once the data has been fed into the AI model, they will use the data and generate responses for, other users. This raises some eyebrows, and the next thing that might be a concern is that you don't know how the data is managed. So it might seem harmless or innocent, right? Say you're in HR, you received a CV from a candidate saying that, asking ChatGPT whether they're a good fit, for this role that I have on opening in my organization or not. Since you don't know how the data will be resided or how it's going to be, managed, you might, be exposed to, data privacy issues, which is not nice. Okay, so this is one of the things that people tend to, office workers or the public tend to overlook, because it might seem harmless, right? And as I said on the previous slide, more than 80% of office workers already bring their own AI tools to work, and as an organization, you have no control on what the data will be, feeding into, which AI model it's being fed into. So if since the behaviors can't be changed, maybe we should consider deploying a solution to help your office workers remain productive, remain secure, because you have full control over the data, because it, inherits whatever settings that you have in your current tenant. Okay, I know it's a lot to digest, but have a think about it. Okay. Copilot also integrates to the apps you use every day. As mentioned earlier, you've got over 100 type of Copilot, right? So you've got, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Teams. These are most likely the apps that you tend to use every day. And there are more sophisticated Copilot, like Copilot for Finance, which is role-based. There's Copilot Agents, which I will also be covering in this webinar. So, it's pretty well-rounded, and there is a Copilot for every business need. Okay, and as we're talking about control, right? So as an individual user, same as an admin, you're always in control. So if you're just an office worker trying to use Copilot at work, once Copilot generates a response for you, you as the user gets to decide what to use, modify, or discard. So say you ask Copilot to help you draft an email response. And if there will be a button for you to see whether you want to keep it, or for you to provide further instructions for it to modify it. Maybe you don't like the tone of it. Maybe you don't like the formatting of it. Maybe just some wordings that you didn't like. Once you modify it, and that takes us to the next point, is it learns about processes and behaviors, and it can perform more sophisticated tasks. So say if you didn't like the response that it's generated, and you say, oh, I would like to tone to be more formal, please. Copilot will know, and then next time, as it learns from all these further instructions that you give them, it will learn from it, and they will get a taste of what sort of responses that you want to get, and then it will get a response that's tailored to your needs. Okay, so yeah. It's very intelligent, and it's not. So have you ever seen any sort of like document or any sort of materials online saying that, oh, when you take a first look at it, and it's like, oh, it's definitely written by a Gen AI tool. I don't think Copilot could, this could happen with Copilot, because you could provide further instructions just to modify it, and it will just get better and better. Okay. I forgot to mention, by the way, if you have any questions, please use the Q&A box that you could see on your Teams webinar window, and I'll be monitoring, the Q&A box from time to time. And at the end, we will be having a Q&A section. Okay. That's about what Copilot is and some AI transformation drivers. And now let's take it to the second part. Over to you, Joy.
Thanks, Toby. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah.
Great. Can you move to the next slide, please? Thank you very much. So we wanted to cover some of the challenges that we face using GenAI, or that we have seen, or some of the challenges that customers have surfaced when we have conversations with them in roundtables and in different engagements or formats. Some of the challenges we have seen, we have a sort of report that we at Microsoft release every 6 months, the Work Trend Index, and in that report we've surveyed thousands of people across various geographies, and if you haven't seen the Work Trend Index before, I can put the link in the chat box, and then you can take a look at it afterwards. It's really covers a lot around the early adopters of Copilot and even those who are currently using various forms of generative AI. And some of the things that we uncovered is, number one, the AI move is across various ages right now. So it doesn't matter if if it's the baby boomers, the Gen Zs, the millennials, everyone across the board are using generative AI, some form of it. And what we realized in the report, in that report that was done, when that survey was done just last year, is that it's not a lot of people, over 70% of people, have started using some form of generative AI, and they really started using it in the last within the last 6 months. Based on the last reporting that we did, over 50% of them really started using generative AI. One of the things we noticed is that they are bringing different forms of AI into work. So it's more of a bring your own AI type of movement we are seeing. And that really begs the question, and for me, when I think about it, of where is the organization's data being put into, or what kind of information are employees or users feeding into these different types of AI solutions that they are bringing, or Gen AI solutions that they are bringing. So I wanted to highlight some of the risks that you potentially see in, and the challenges with security and compliance, which is data oversharing. So user might unconsciously just sort of share data that is that they do not have the proper authorization for within these different types of solutions. Another thing that we could face in this type of scenario is data leak. So the data leak of your organization could be done by a user unconsciously, not a conscious thing, but just done based on them trying to get work done easily and using some of these AI tools. And thirdly, we wanted to highlight to you that non-compliance usage of certain content within the organization, that they might potentially have access to, in an unethical way, which might expose you as well to different things. Toby mentioned, around, having some sort of data leak, and, people having access to data that they're not supposed to have access to, that could potentially then cost even things as far as legal challenges within the organization. So those are some of the things we wanted to mention as we sort of lay the foundation and start to talk around security and compliance, and how your data sort of works within, also how generative AI tools have access to your data. If you move to the next slide for me, Toby, thank you. We really wanted to also cover, stemming from that challenge that we have highlighted, that I just highlighted, around accidental exposure to offensive data to different AI systems. There is, while we with business, basic or business standard, you're able to, we have the restricted SharePoint search that you could activate within your within your current environment, where you could prevent, data, exclude certain files rather that are sensitive to your organization from being shared or being accessed by users, or stop them from, kind of sharing that kind of sensitive data. That allows for that. But when we go beyond that and start to look at the SKUs such as business premium, we start to have, you start to have access to, securing further, sensitive data within your environment, having, sensitivity labeling, you being able to activate that to safeguard against, any kind of data leak, safeguard against any kind of exposure that you could potentially be able to, you know, um, stop from happening beforehand. So when we look at this piece around the challenge versus the solution, yes, AI, rather, sorry, your security and compliance, your beyond looking at your basic skills that you're able to access, within business basic or business standard. When we look at business premium and we look at those skills around, the E3, the E5, the business premium specifically as well, in this case or in this scenario that you have up here, you're able to activate key features like sensitivity label, data loss prevention is something you can access. You'll be able to do conditional access as well to be able to enhance, data security. Data is a powerful thing that really fuels AI in general. So it's really, we talked about Microsoft Graph earlier. So obviously with Copilot, it really hinges on your Microsoft Graph, and then obviously across your various apps, it's able to then access, for when prompts are sent into Copilot and then bring out information. So at the end of the day, it then respects those policies that you've put in there. And we'll talk more about that in the slides that are coming. So when you really look at, looking at the various the multi environment that you have, looking at things like, your employee ID, your employee access control, and all of that, you're able to then classify the different types of data within your organization once you have some of these subscriptions, or rather SKUs, activated within your environment. So if you take it to the next slide for me, Toby. I just wanted to talk around the principles, foundational principles when it comes to Copilot for M365, which is security, compliance, privacy, and responsible AI. What Microsoft across Copilot, what we hinge on really is security, and obviously we look at compliance, which is really an important thing for us when it comes to the principles that we constantly live by every single day, and that is something that we owe to our partners and and customers like yourself, around really ensuring that whatever products that we put out there is, that we really think about these foundational principles which is like a comprehensive approach that we have towards generative AI currently. So this protecting your data not just covers you as an organization, it covers groups and teams within the organizations, covers the individual as well. And then on top of that, we have responsible AI that really, really is guarded, underpinned by these 6 principles that you find on my right-hand side here. And that's something that we live by every day, and that we ensure that as we put out, we ship out new features around Copilot, we ensure that everything that, that we do, we consider these 6 principles around fairness, around reliability, around inclusiveness, transparency, and accountability as well. So if you have your data, if generative AI is fueled by data and fueled by the user's data or the organization's data, you need to ensure that the partner that you're working with is one that you really trust with your data. And that's something that Microsoft, we have at the back of our minds when we when we ship out new features around generative AI and across all of our products. That's why these principles are really, really important to us as we think about generative AI. If you move to the next slide for me, Toby. I wanted to really also just double click on that piece around trust. Microsoft runs on trust. You've probably heard this word before, or these words before, this slogan before, but it's really important to us that, in terms from a trust perspective, what's really important to us is that we need our customers to understand that, our success is really dependent on trust, and that trust that we build with you as customers, with partners, partners as well, and obviously with each other. So that's really, really important to us. And so it's not just a word for us. So when it comes to security and privacy, trust also means for us prioritizing security and privacy across all of the things, all of the products that we put out there, even especially in this era rather of generative AI, committing to protecting your data. That's really important to us because that's something that comes to the fore every single time we have conversations with customer around, that nervousness around data, and that nervousness around, not really sure around if this AI, if your data is trained, or rather if the models are trained with your data. So one of the things we want to highlight is your data is your data, meaning that every single policy that you have is what Copilot would mimic. So it doesn't do anything outside of the policies that you already have set up within your tenant or within your organization. The second thing we wanted to also highlight is that your data is not used, as a foundation to either train that data, to train our AI models, or to enrich it either. And also, you are protected every step of the way. In the previous slide, we looked at how security is really what underpins every single thing that we do, and also really, really important, those foundational principles that we mentioned there around your privacy, around your data as well. And it's our commitment to customers that we will, protect your data, would ensure that your data is your data. So that's something that, that's really, really important to us. So that foundation of trust, building that relationship with yourselves and ensuring that you can trust that our products and our services, meet the highest standards of security, of privacy is it's important to us. So our trust code is that we definitely run on trust. Responsible AI is important to us. Security is important. Privacy is important to us, as well as accessibility and all of those pillars that we talked through as well. So when you're looking at your data, just in conclusion, is just really looking at what are at this time, since Copilot mimics what you have within your current environment, is just really having a conversation with HAYNE.cloud around your data, what you have currently within your environment, and really helping you with that thing, with that piece around your data, governance and security across your data as well, because that's really important. So once you have users switched on using using Copilot in this case, you know that you've done the necessary things that you need to do. And one of the things you can do as a stopgap while you do a bit of housekeeping around your data is to look at that restricted SharePoint search, so that you can have those sensitive information kind of ring fenced away from users that are not supposed to access it, while you obviously start to put those policies in place to really tighten security within your environment, to make it safer, and to make you more confident in going on your AI journey. And I believe that would be me for now. So for now, I will also pass over to Toby for the demo part of Copilot. But let us know if you have any questions. Please feel free to put them in the Q&A session, and we'll answer them. Thanks. Toby?
Great. Okay, thanks, Joy. That was very informative. So in this section, I will be going through a few demos, especially once I picked these as demos, because I tend to use these on a regular basis, and I hopefully wanted to spread the message and just to let you know what Copilot can do, so you can envision how it actually changes the way you work. Meeting recap in Copilot for Teams. So have you ever joined a meeting and whether you missed it or you were not able to join, and you ask your colleague and say, oh, how the meeting went, and they just said, oh, it went well, and walked away. You didn't get what you wanted. You wanted to follow up, on the meeting you missed, right? This is a great feature where it recaps what's being mentioned in the meetings. It also has these sort of transcript that you can look into, and also the engagement of the meeting participants. But what's amazing with, Copilot embedded to it is you could actually ask, oh, is there anything I need to follow up on? Was my name mentioned? When should we, schedule another meeting, sometime down the road? Do I have to prepare for it? So retrieving, what's being said from the meeting, since it has a transcript, when you ask Copilot a question, it will help generate a response that, is accurate based on what's being mentioned in the meeting. So this is great. You might have heard something called Teams Premium. Teams Premium can help you, summarize what's being mentioned in the meeting, generate a transcript, and also has this little, engagement piece. But the true value of Copilot is it acts as your personal assistant, right? So when you ask what's being mentioned during the meeting, Copilot can just retrieve, the correct information that is targeted from the questions that you asked, rather than you going through the transcript or the meeting minutes just to, dig through it, especially it's like a 4-hour long meeting. So yeah, it could help you. As I said, Copilot is here to help you save time so that you could focus your productivity or you focus your time on other things to remain productive. Okay, so this is a really good meeting recap, and I've already built a habit where whenever I join a meeting, I'll just turn Copilot on. When I turn Copilot on, it starts transcription, and then afterwards I can just ask Copilot, oh, I spaced out for like 10 minutes during the meeting. What did I miss? Okay, so a really good real life example that you could use Copilot in Teams to recap your meetings. Okay, but there's also another feature to help you with preparing for a meeting, and this is not done within the meeting, but this is done on something called Copilot Business Chat. This is, as you can see, the interface is a little different. It might remind you on any other third-party AI tools, but this is sort of like a master interface of using Copilot, and you will know why. Because if I got dragged into a meeting that I have no context, I don't know what that meeting is about, I could just go onto Copilot Business Chat and say, oh, what do I need to know about this meeting? And I could just go / refer to the source that I have, and it will pull out whatever information. So say emails that you were in it, Teams chat that has some keywords regarding this meeting, any sort of communications or even documents within your own tenant. It will show you the relevant information in order to help you prepare for this meeting. And you're like, oh, what about the data? Where is it pulling the data from? Copilot will never look into areas that you don't have access to. So, if you go onto Business Chat and ask, oh, how much does my manager make in a year? Since there might be a spreadsheet somewhere, documenting, how much, the SAPs earn on a yearly basis. But since you don't have permissions to access it, Copilot will never go into it and look into areas that you don't have access to. And the same applies to this scenario, right? It will say, I wanted to prepare for this meeting. They will only look into emails that that has your name on it as a recipient, Teams chat that you were in it, or even documents on your SharePoint or your own tenant, or even your own OneDrive, personal drive that has any sort of keywords that's related to this meeting. So yeah, this is great because sometimes we all had moments where we get dragged into meetings with no context, and or maybe you just went away on a 2-week holiday and you just wanted to get up to speed very quickly. Okay. Another thing that I wanted to mention is it's quite small on my screen, but if you could see this little footnote right next to some sort of like keywords, this is actually the source where Copilot is pulling or retrieving the data from. So it will point you to, where say, oh, this is pulled from this document that you have on your OneDrive or things like that. It will let you know the sources so that you could validate whether it's a correct source on this sort of response. Okay, so yeah, this is great, and yeah, it only takes a few seconds, and this is how quick it is. I didn't speed up the video or anything like that. Okay, so this is meeting preparation within Copilot in Teams, which is the business chat functionality. This is probably one of my favorites using Copilot in Outlook because, again, I'm just going to use the unification example, right? Since maybe you're away for a few days on vacation and you were in this long chain of email, they're like, oh, I don't have the time to go through every single item on the email. You can ask Copilot to summarize an entire email chain with just one button away from this button, Summary by Copilot. Click on it, it will do its job, only takes a few seconds, and it will help you summarize, what's being mentioned. If your name is already on it, it will say, oh, your name's mentioned. Please try to follow up, on this specific task, or any sort of, key points or, notes that's been highlighted during the on the email chain. So this is just a quick one for you to summarize it so that you have an overview of what's being mentioned, especially on long chains of emails. Okay. This is another thing. I actually use this every single day, which is Draft with Copilot. I think, a way on using it is how do you say no politely? I will put it this way, because sometimes when you have all these ideas on your mind, you just don't know how to put them together. It's all over the place. You can ask Copilot to tidy it up for you. Or even it's just that, sometimes when your responses are fairly short and you didn't want your email to be that short, you can ask Copilot to lengthen it for you and just polish it for you. So when you're on this email and you're trying to respond to it, just click on Copilot and click Draft with Copilot. Okay. You could provide some sort of instructions and say, oh, can you help me say a thank you email? Make it, more polite, make it formal. Any sort of, instructions that you wanted to give, and say, I'm trying to tell this, colleague that, no, I'm not going to help you on this. How do I make it sound more polite? Copilot can help you with that as well. So yeah, this is great. And if you click on this customization little button over here, you can change the tone of it. You can also change the length of it. So you have full control on what the response you're trying to get. And as I said, since it learns from behaviors, even though these options are here, it will get a taste of what sort of requirements that you want it to give, as you want to receive as a response. Okay, so it's fairly quick. It's only a few seconds away. Here it is. It's a very standard, response that Copilot helps you, to generate. Okay, and I'm just gonna put in some, tips on prompting. Prompting is the instruction that you feed into you give Copilot to help it, as if you're delegating a task. By creating a good prompt, it will really enhance the responses. So by giving them more context, by giving them further instructions, as if you're really delegating your own personal assistant to help do your task for you, it will generate a better response as you go with it. So this is more on the adoption side of things and training side of things. But if you're interested, prompting is fun because it's sort of like, I like prompting. Till this day, even though I'm on the job for since Copilot has been launched, I still figure out new ways to prompt in order to get better results. So yeah, it's great. If you're interested, look it up. It will amaze you how amazing prompt to get. Okay, so yeah, this is Draft with Copilot. Again, it only takes a few seconds, and of course, sometimes it may not be perfect, right? You might need to change on the formatting, change on some wordings, but if you think of it that way, if it's perfect, then it's sort of like this paradox or chicken and egg. If it's perfect, maybe it will replace you. No, just saying. But if it's perfect, all these sort of like RoboCop situation where they're intelligent enough to be perfect, and then maybe machines will take over the world someday. Okay, enough of the jokes. I know it's not funny, but let's go on to the next point, which is the content generation feature on Copilot in Word. I believe this is the one that really gave me the wow moment, because if I'm going to show you right now. So content generation, as a human being, if you're trying to write something, put together something, start to get creative, it's the most difficult to start from a blank page. You could just stare at it for hours and you just don't know how to start. You have all these ideas, but you just don't know how to, kickstart. How do I start with the first sentence? So this is a good example, and say, oh, I would like to create a summary from this PowerPoint slide, which I've mentioned before. You could integrate Copilot within, across different M365 applications. So this is, well, bear with me. This is a 70-page slide deck. That's why it's taking this long, but that gives me time to speak. So, Copilot helps you kickstart on your creativity side of things. It helps you sort of to trigger some sort of ideas to help you get started, and then you could do some revisions. Okay, so this is a really good example, and since within, it's within a Word document already, so all the formatting is already there, which is quite nice. It only takes a few seconds to generate something that might help you kickstart whatever that you're trying to create. So this is an example on creating a summary from another a file that you have on your tenant. And coming up, this is another example on really showcasing the creativity side of things. So say, based on this summary, can you help me create 10 creative taglines that will be applied to social media posts? Just give you some options. Again, just helps you to get started on your brainstorming process. And I'm a slow typer too, so bear with me. So yeah, this is just another example on how to use Copilot on your creativity journey, just to help you get started. Okay, so just give it some time by providing some instructions and click on generate. You can even customize the tone of it, make it sound friendly, witty, professional. And yeah, it might not be the best ones, but again, it helps you, get started. And it sparks some ideas on your mind just to, make your job easier. You could easily stare at this, document for like, I don't know, 2 hours just to think of some taglines for the social media post. But then with Copilot, by giving you some ideas, it shortens the, sort of like brainstorming time, and then it could help you save time. Okay. This is another example of an integration between Microsoft Word and also, PowerPoint. So say I have this document over here. It's quite a large, long document about it. And I already have my company branded, PowerPoint slide over here. If I'm trying to ask Copilot to help me, create some sort of, presentation, I'll just refer from this document that I have, and then I've also provided, further instructions saying that please include some tables and graphics to make it more interesting. So I'm just going to skip a little bit. Again, I'm a slow typer, and it will take some time, and it's really thoughtful. It will say, oh, it will replace your current slides. Do you want to proceed? Yes, please. And here we go. This is the slides that it's created. As I've mentioned in the instructions, it has included some graphics and tables, as you can see on the screen. So again, you could do it yourself, but with this, it helps you get started, and then you can just spend your time on beautifying it, making it look more sophisticated. So yeah, Copilot is here to help you save time, to remain productive, and then you can focus on providing more higher quality work. Okay. I know, conscious of time, let's move on to something we call Copilot agents. So now we know that Copilot is your everyday AI assistant to help you make your job easier and help you, sort of save time on day-to-day, I would say mundane tasks. But Copilot agent is your sort of like an enhanced version, a personalized application, sort of like you're speaking to someone just to automate or even enhance your own business process. Okay, so Copilot agent is sort of like it's another form of system, but it's more sophisticated because it helps you optimize your business processes and also enhance your productivity. So it varies on different, it has different levels of complexity and capabilities. And as an end user, even myself, I'm not the most technical person. I could build my own agent by feeding them the right, sort of information or data that's within your own SharePoint tenant. So, we could categorize Copilot agents into 3 types of agents, going from a more simple one, which is called retrieval agents. And then we've got task agents and autonomous agents, which is the most advanced agent that you could use. So a retrieval agent is an agent that it will extract or retrieve information from grounding your data and summarize it or answering user questions. A good example would be maybe you've created a staff handbook agent that, when you ask them, oh, what is the leave application policy? It will just retrieve information from the documents or from the files or data that you have already fed into the agent when you're building it. So it's just sort of like a Q&A moment. When you ask them a question, it would generate a response from whatever data that it has on the database. And then we will move on to a task agent. This will still have the features of a retrieval agent, but it could perform you could integrate some sort of workflow into it and replace repetitive tasks. So say, let's take the leave application, example again. With a task agent, you could integrate a workflow. Maybe if you wanted to check your leave balance, it will just integrate, some sort of, app or, a data that has your remaining leave balances. You can just say, oh, how do I apply for leave? And, it gives you an answer. And then you can ask a follow-up question. Okay, how many days I've got left in my annual leave? Okay, so this is a task agent where it performs more sophisticated tasks, and then it could also integrate with a workflow. And lastly, we have an autonomous agent, which Microsoft will be releasing or launching very soon. I've never used it before, not yet, because it's not generally available on the public, but I could share with you an example. You heard of Pets at Home, this pet store. It's a pet care business. They have created an agent for its profit protection team to more efficiently compile cases for, human review. Maybe it could just, they submitted a ticket, they could just review it, and then they will have, save it because they don't need an agent sitting here just to go through the manual tasks, mundane tasks, and they could just, automate it. And it sort of minimizes human errors as well. Another example would be McKinsey, the consulting company. I think McKinsey is a consulting company. I think so. It created an agent where it speeds up the client onboarding process. It's mundane, right? It's standard procedures, and then it created an autonomous agent to help them speed up, automate everything. And the pilot showed that it could, just save time and also reduce work so that they could use the resources to focus on other things. Okay, so these are the 3 examples of the Copilot agents, and these are just some further examples of what it could do. So for like a retrieval agent, it could be an IT help desk agent, it could be a project tracker, what are the stages we are at the moment within this project. It could be a task agent would be, if I request for a new device, with the IT team, it will automatically update its stock, or, even add a autonomous agent, it could help you generate leads or qualify leads. So it goes more advanced as you go, but then I would really recommend looking into a retrieval agent, because if you're trying to build agents, it's designed to be something called a low code or like no code. As an end user, I could just go into Copilot Studio or even on, Copilot Business Chat and say, I want to build an agent, even for my own use. Say I wanted to prepare for an exam, for example, a certification exam, for example. I could just create an agent. I could upload, whatever materials that my, company has provided for me, as an exam, in an exam, I'll just feed into the agent. It helps me revise, right? This is more like personal use. But, for anything, you could create your own agent as an end user. It's just a few buttons away, and you could also instruct them how, the tone of it and things like that. And also for IT and developers, since it involves some sort of workflow automation, it also, you can use Copilot Studio to extend and customize whatever agent that you're trying to build. I'm just going to show you a video on how to build a field service agent and how easy it is. It will wow you, I guarantee, but it's really easy. Oh, looks like we have some voice issues. I'll do the voiceover. Okay.
I was
So
say
we're
the
on.
joys of a live webinar, Toby. We seem to be having some technical problems with the sound.
Okay, yeah, I'll do a voiceover. No worries. So yeah, as you can see, I've mentioned before, this is your SharePoint site. You can just select what sort of documents you want to feed into your agent, and you just click one button. It will take you. It's there. It's available. So this is sort of like a simple, straightforward way to create a Copilot agent based on the the data that you feed into them, and you can also embed it within your own business chat. Teams chat, and say, I've created an extension so that it's sort of like a bot, right? You're creating your own bot sounds exciting. Sounds like look like a technical person. But yeah, as you can see earlier, it's just a few buttons away as long as you feed them the correct data. So yeah, this is a really amazing way to extend or create agents that fit your needs, because there are so many things that Copilot can do, but then the extensibility, the extensions of it is another point that I really wanted to highlight. Okay. You could also, add something called a connector, like that connects different applications within your, agent. So say, for example, we're using Dynamics 365, and you can also connect it, for more sophisticated like lead generation, customer relationship management, things like that. So you could, the extensibility and the customization side of things of Copilot agents is really high. So you could, you could try it out first, just to, for the baseline task retrieval agents. But if you want it really to optimize your business processes, maybe it's worth looking into Copilot agents as well. Okay, that would be me. I think, is there anything you wanted to add, Joy, in terms of agents? I know you're an advocate of agents.
No, I'll just one simple thing, just conscious that we're out of time. Want to respect that. The agent is really easy to create. I think a very simple example was I created an agent internally on my side for my team to use with, for example, all the the promotions and the incentives that we're running. So I created that and just kind of attached the files and the FAQs and all of that inside by myself inside of SharePoint. And once I reference all of the documents or added all of the documents you should reference, then basically the bot was ready, and we could ask it any question. I was able to answer, and I just kind of shared it with some team members to kind of test that out. So it's quite easy. So if I can create it, anyone can, because I'm not even like a techie person, so I didn't need any kind of code, and I was able to create that. So it's really, really handy and useful to be used for teams to collaborate. If there are documents that you share or you work from, you can just create that agent in there as a test and just kind of build that out together and use it. So that'll be me, I believe. I think I'll pass it over to Ian.
Yeah, Toby, Joy, thank you very much for that. I noticed that we are over time, so I'll wrap this up very quickly. If I just look at some of the things that both Joy and Toby discussed there, and reflect upon that about some of my own experiences. I was speaking to somebody the other day who was in a small business forum, and was listening to some gentleman in there raving about how efficient his business had become, because he was able to leverage ChatGPT and put all of his customer and all of his business information in there and just get these summaries for it, without realizing that he was putting all of his business and customer information out there into a public domain. So it goes to show that not everyone is aware of the pitfalls that's out there with Gen AI at the moment. And then I look at it in my own world, as a sales director, and how I leverage Copilot for myself and my team. I use it extensively. If I look at the team summary that Toby took you through, where when I'm in on meetings with clients, I use Copilot to create the transcript, but then also create the summary. It means that I'm taking, in essence, more effective notes. It means that I'm able to listen more intently to what my customer's saying, but then I'm able to just control, copy and paste that information into my CRM, which means my organization has an accurate and comprehensive and full documentation of all those customer interactions. So there's some real world examples and some of the pitfalls as well. If you can go on to the next slide, please, Toby. I'll go through these quickly. So, who are HAYNE? We've been around for a number of years now, and working with Toby and the team at Infinigate in the broader Microsoft world. We are, as it says there, ISO certified, but then on top of that, we are also the Microsoft Copilot Partner of the Year for 2024. So, we can work with our clients, everything from full MSP through to license optimization and license fulfillment. And on that note, we are able to take advantage of that partnership at the moment and offer our clients a 15% discount on any Copilot licenses that they're looking to procure. So if anyone's got any questions on that, feel free to let me know. If you go on to the next slide quickly as well, please, Toby. So how are we working with our clients around Microsoft 365 Copilot? So When I look at the customer life cycle, some of you on the call today might be just thinking about this journey. Some of you might be much further down, but HAYNE are able to work with clients at every single step of that way. So, the first step that we work with our clients on is around understanding their readiness for Copilot and adopting it as a solution in their business, helping them to understand the data risks and providing our customers with a thorough overview of their environmental security and pinpointing any potential risks that they might have. And then you've got the deployment side, so the design and procurement. So, helping our clients to identify which users are actually the most suitable. It's not a one size fits all across an organization. Helping to work with them to design optimal licensing scenarios based on that readiness. And then also providing continuous monitoring of adoption rates, making sure that you're not buying additional licenses that you don't need. If an organization or an individual isn't using the licenses, then let's reallocate them to somebody that will benefit. And then that post go live stage as well. So, helping build that adoption and training strategy. So how can we sort of build that adoption and build the usage within an organization? And then I mentioned before that ongoing managed service across the full Microsoft estate, whether it's just the licensing or the Copilot, or broader areas across the Microsoft estate within an organization. And the final slide from me, if you just flick on to the next one. One thing I wanted to do today was as an additional thank you for people for taking the time aside. From next steps from here, what I'd like to offer is anyone on the call to take advantage of one of the three things that you can see on the screen there. And we'll reach out to you after today to see which one you want to take advantage of. The first one is a readiness assessment that we can do for you and your organization, and helping you to understand the viability of Copilot within your organization. And like I mentioned, assessing some of those security risks as well. We've also got access to some courses for people that might be a bit earlier in that journey, where we can help you personally and your organizations to understand and realize the value of Copilot. They are delivered by a qualified MCT, and we've got a number of dates available, and we can reach out to you about that. And finally for people that are just here for curiosity purposes, we've got a Copilot 365 ebook, which we'd be happy to share. In the interest of time, I know that we've taken more than what we were supposed to this morning. I wanted to take the opportunity again to thank everyone for putting the time aside today to join us on this call, particularly Toby and Joy as well for your input on the call today. We will be in touch with people after the webinar, but if anyone's got any questions, feel free to get in touch with either HAYNE, Toby, or Joy at Microsoft. And once again, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.